Hello again. In this video, we're going to talk about revising your work. We're going to talk about what revising your work means and why you need to do it. We're also going to talk about how you revise your work, what you need to look out for, and some practical tips on doing so. Revising your work is about much more than just spell checking your work or correcting your typos. It's also much more than just a quick check before you submit your work. We're talking about continuously reviewing your work and maybe rewriting parts or reorganizing it. Why is this necessary? Well, for the majority of the time you spend on a writing project, you are thinking from your own point of view, that of the writer. This is understandable, but we know that in order to contribute effectively to the academic discussion, we must be able to convey our ideas clearly to the reader. To check that we're doing that, we need to put ourselves in their shoes. Viewing our work through the eyes of the reader will allow us to see how our ideas come across, and so we can be more certain that the final product communicates clearly what we are trying to say. Broadly, we can divide the process of revision into two stages: global revision, focusing on the order of ideas and overall structure, and editing, focusing on the accuracy of the language and referencing. The global revision comes first, and we should look at our central idea and the supporting points to ensure they do what they're supposed to do and that they are ordered logically. Then check that each paragraph is unified, it deals with one issue, and that the paragraph has the necessary internal flow from sentence to sentence. Finally, check that any sources used in the arguments are relevant and well integrated in the text. Once we're satisfied with this, we can turn our attention to editing the grammar and vocabulary, as well as fixing any problems with spelling and punctuation. A final but very important aspect of editing is ensuring any references to sources are formatted accurately, both in the text and in the bibliography. So, when you revise, you're not just finalizing a few words, you're reviewing your work from all angles. Really, all aspects of writing should be open to revision. Now, I know that this can feel pretty overwhelming, so let's think about some practical tips. The first tip is probably the most important one of all, because it provides the basis for what follows. Give yourself plenty of time. Rather than budgeting a bit of revision time at the end, see revision as part of the writing process. When revision is part of your writing process, you can also plan accordingly. For example, don't just focus on the final deadline. Instead, set yourself a deadline for the first draft, so that you've got time after that to write further drafts. My second tip is, when you revise, try focusing on just one or two aspects at a time. For example, when doing global revision, first check that your overall structure works, and in a separate revision, see if your paragraphs are well organized and your sentences flow together. My third tip is to get fresh eyes on the text, because one problem that we all have is that after you've worked a lot on your own text, it's difficult to see the problems anymore. The best way to get fresh eyes is to have another person read it and give you feedback. But you can also give yourself fresh eyes. Put the work to one side for a day or more before you review it. Or change the format. For example, if you've been working entirely on screen, then print it and review it on paper. Another option is to read the text aloud to yourself. It changes the way you engage with the text and can help highlight issues that need your attention. You can, of course, combine the second and third approaches. Ask other people to read your work, but maybe ask one person to focus on the overall structure in paragraphs, and ask a different person to give you feedback on your referencing or vocabulary and grammar. But the fact remains from the first tip. Allow plenty of time for revision and include it in your planning. It is not an add-on at the end. It is an integral part of the writing process. Consider revision as part of the writing process and expect to revise your work many times. Think about this process as a cycle of writing and reviewing that can repeat itself several times to get to the finished paper. Thinking about it as a cycle also takes the pressure off. You're going to write, then review, then write some more, then review again. So it doesn't have to be perfect the first time. In fact, it rarely is. Good luck with your writing and revision.